This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Feels like it has been forever since we've had a live Monday morning BTL show. A lot of life stuff happening at 41 years old last week. I got like a pack. Cork got me like a pack of the silicone rings, so I'm kind of excited about that. And then we were supposed to go to Jamaica for the honeymoon. And obviously our 5-day honeymoon pales in comparison to what the people in Jamaica, Montego Bay area, actually went through. So I know I married the right person when she was like, well, maybe we can go on a smaller honeymoon and then we can go to Jamaica and help them clean up if there's an opportunity to do that. So I thought that was pretty nice of her. But no, first BTL, officially married, had a fairly small but really cool wedding in Decatur, Texas there. A lot of fishing people there. So one of the things that Court did was she had a phone. So this lady's business is she goes to wedding venues and has like an old school phone, and on the bottom of it is like a chip, like you just put in your unit, your Garmin or Lowrance or Humminbird, but it records, and then you pick the phone up, and then it's like, hey, you've reached the Pangrax, leave us a message. And then everyone at the wedding can just pick up the phone and leave whatever message they want. Fantastic idea. We had like 20 minutes of messages there, and then you get, your little USB chip back and you can listen to it. It's like her half of the family with all these great well wishes and, oh, I'm so happy for your future on that. And then it's like 8 minutes of prank calls from fishermen who just had spotted cows and then just decided to leave hilarious messages. So that was cool. So we ended up going to Florida for a couple days, place at my parents and grandparents. My grandma actually had a place down there over in St. Pete Beach, Pass-a-Grille, Florida. Ended up watching a lot of people fish off the jetties and the piers. Didn't get any fishing in there for 3 days, but keeping up with what's going on in the fishing world. Obviously right now, the Toyota Championship, guys are practicing on Grand Lake for that. A lot of money on the line there. And I think they're going to get a version of Tough Grain. There's always that kind of time, that transitional time in the year, end of October, beginning of November. If you get it where the cold kind of flips and the lake flips and everything settles down, the bite's phenomenal. They're on the bait. Big bass are up there. You can catch them buzzing. You can catch them plopping. You can catch them cranking on a jig. You can catch them scoping on a minnow. You can do all sorts of stuff. But if you catch it in that in-between time, we've got the 80-degree days still. We've got the 45, 50-degree nights. Only took 17 pounds to win with some of the best locals on there last week. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do there in the Toyota Championship. And then immediately after that, we are going to have our new 10 Elite Series anglers for the 2026 Elite Series season. There's one more Bassmaster EQ left on the schedule on Lake Okeechobee, which I think is a little bit different. We'll talk to today's guest. He's actually going to be down there next week, but from what I've seen, really low water, a lot different than it was when the Opens were there in the past, when the other tournaments have been there in the past. It'll be interesting to see how that goes down. But with that on the board, I wanted to get a guy, and I want to go back through his career, because when you talk about building a professional angler, today's guest, Grae Buck, has used the platform exceptionally well. Grae, excellent selection in the tan hoodie today. How are you doing?
I'm great. You're looking good.
Thank you. You're out in Pennsylvania, man. I am to the age now where I value shops. Like, I value shops and I value meat freezers. Like, we went yesterday, we got back and we went to Costco. And so Owen came down for the wedding. He was one of the groomsmen. Nice. You were up in Kenai, Alaska, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, it was August of 24, so like a little over a year ago.
Yeah, and you caught him on a chatterbait. And then Owen, when he came down for Texas, was trying to scour all of the locations to find that little chatterbait that you caught him on up there. He still talks about that every time I talk to him.
Oh yeah, I sent him a pile of them up by end of the summer.
Yeah, he wants everything now. He's all in on chatterbaits for salmon. He's like, dude, they don't touch it. You put a chatterbait on, boom, done. Good deal.
Love to hear that. Maybe that means I can get the invite when I go back up there again one day.
Yeah, we went up there this summer again, and it's God, it's so special. Like if you just enjoy fishing as a whole, like it's there's nothing like it.
No, you're 100% right. It was always like a bucket list trip for my wife and I, and it's one of the few places where we got to go back. There's no way I'm not going back at some point. And I don't know if it'll be a year or two, but it'll be eventually. We're going to get up there again and go catch those salmon. And I didn't catch my halibut when I went there. It was my biggest thing. We went out and did a halibut trip, and we didn't get one. So I have a reason I have to go back.
Yeah, Owen brought so when I went to ship it back this summer, our reds that we caught over by Redoubt Bay Lodge there, it was like $250 to ship him. So he actually brought like one of those fish boxes, flew it to the wedding, and then I stuffed it all in Courtney's freezer, and then I brought it home, re-vacuum packed it. So my freezer right now is just mint. I've got Alaskan Kings, Alaskan Reds, and Green Bay Perch. So I told Court, I was like, I need a kind of one of those, like, not stand-up freezers, but the kind where you open the top and then that's my new fish freezer.
There you go. That's
for the
perfect.
fall.
You can't beat that.
So, let's talk about some fishing here. Didn't you actually fish with your wife in college?
Yeah. So she fished probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 tournaments over the years with me. It was actually the best tournament I ever had in college was up at Lake Champlain. We came in second. I guess that would have been my senior year. She was a junior then. And then we got to go to, at the time it was FLW, went to the regional when they only took like 4 or 5 teams or 3 or 5, whatever it was. It was a small field that bring us together. And there I've actually fished against Jody White, and he made the national championship out of that thing by himself. His partner couldn't make it, and he was just hammering them away down there in Virginia.
Ironic that you mentioned that. So Jody White is actually covering the Toyota Series Championship on Grand Lake that takes place this week. And then the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, Jody will be in studio. He's staying at my place. We're going to do some special BTLs in studio with Jody White from MLF. And then we're going to go try to put him on a 10-pounder and a 3-pound crappie.
Oh, that's going to be a great time.
Yeah. So I actually last night got back. I had so much stuff on my boat just for, like I just was using it as like a storage facility with like all the wedding stuff and all that here. So I spent like 6 hours last night, got it all good to go, made sure the scope was dialed in. Everything was perfect on it for when Jody comes down so we can scope up some giants. But yeah, just a little precursor for what we have coming up on BTL the next couple of weeks. But did you fish any high school stuff or junior stuff? I know that you're roughly 3-4 years younger than me, and that was just kind of coming into it, or was college your first kind of that collegiate Bassmaster and FLW?
Yeah, that was the first I had. Being from Pennsylvania, I don't even know if it existed back when I was in high school and junior high. I just joined like a local club, and I would fish out of the back of whoever's boat that would take me at the time until I was a sophomore in college. Was the first year I had saved up and bought a bass boat. It was a little 18-foot Skeeter at the time, and
that's what I started with. I started with a ZX190 with a two-stroke VMAX Yamaha on the back, carbureted, like 800 hours on the thing. I mean, it started every single time for 10 years.
Nice. Yeah, I had an SX190, I believe, and I ran that boat through college, and when I was fishing the BFLs, I was running out in the middle of Lake Ontario with that thing when I won the first super tournament up there. I caught 50 pounds. I'm jamming in this little live well. It was wild. But that boat, I learned so much of that thing. Like I beat it up, and it was a great boat to get started with.
Would you like every couple of months have to like peel the rub rail off and take the screwdriver and put all the screws all the way around the top cap back in, and you would know when you'd hit a wake if it would rattle, you'd be like, oh, I have to go put some more screws into the top cap?
Oh yeah. No, that thing, they are built, I don't think, like they are now, these bigger boats. Those ones weren't made for taking in that rough water.
Yeah, I actually sold that ZX190. I had it in storage. I was trying to do the Rojas thing where you like keep your first boat forever. And then I needed some money during the COVID thing, and I sold it for like 10 grand cash, like just to some dude in a parking lot. He gave it to me. And then literally the next day it was on Facebook Marketplace for 15.
Oh,
yeah, I know. I was like, dang, I got flipped. All these people said, isn't this your boat? Because it still had the Bass Zone decals like that I tried to peel off. It had like the carpet was a different color.
Yep, yeah,
so you knew whose boat it was.
Oh man, I would love to know where my boat ended up. I know I traded it in when I got it. It was the same deal. Like I couldn't afford to have two boats at the time at all, but I would love to know where that thing went.
I wonder if you could reverse engineer that somehow.
Maybe you gotta look up like whole numbers, like through the state, if it stayed in Pennsylvania. I don't know. I'm not sure how that works.
So when I was getting ready for today's show, and we're eventually going to get to the point where you are fourth in the Bassmaster EQs with one event left to get onto the Bassmaster Elite Series for the first time in your career. But when I went back over the stats, I think there's little parts and pieces together. But when you put it all together, it's a pretty impressive march to the top level of the sport. And I think you're a prime example of putting in your time, paying your dues, catching fish at opportune moments, and taking advantages of opportunities that present themselves. So you started with the college fishing 2010 through 2012, right? And that was at Penn State.
Yep.
Were you heartbroken that Franklin got fired, or were you on board with that?
No, I don't know who they're going to replace him with, but I think it was time. It was. Yeah, you just never won the big game.
Yeah, that's true. And then you went from there where you jumped into the BFLs in 2014 with, you mentioned that win. You won the Thousand Island, the Super on Thousand Islands, 50 pounds, 10 ounces in 2014. So that's like way pre-scope in the fall, Thousand Islands, 25 pounds a day. That was back when those weights weren't coming out of Thousand Islands that big, that consistently, was it?
No, I think I won by 8 pounds in that thing. I had almost 27 the first day. And like I said, it was one of those, it's like every time you win, it just kind of happens. You can't stop it. And I had this one area that was just loaded with big ones. I had a bunch of 4-pounders. And on my way in, I stopped at this point because I had to let my little skeeter fill the live wells back up after running.
Where was it taken out of?
Clayton.
Oh, cool. So you were running out into the lake.
Yep, I was running out into the lake probably, I don't know, 20 miles or so. But I stopped at it's called Tibbetts Point, right at the main part of the mouth of the river there. And I was letting my live wells fill up. And I caught a 6-1, I think was the big fish of the tournament. I caught that one there, got rid of like a 4.5. And I pulled up in front of the ramp and there's a rock pile. And I caught another 5.5. And it was a ridiculous tournament. It was.
Were you jerkbaiting them or tubing them or?
No, I was catching them all in a drop shot.
Just blind casting.
Yeah, blind casting and dragging. It was pretty windy up there too. So it was the old drifting days.
Yep.
And I would love to have seen what it looked like on a scope now. Like there was so many fish in that area on day one that it was ridiculous. But then day two, the wind actually changed. That's the first time I'd ever gone up there. I didn't know anything about the lake at all. And I spent one day and I happened to land on them in practice. But day two, it blew out of the northeast instead of the southwest. And I caught one fish off that main area. And I didn't know where the heck they went. I couldn't find them. And I had one spot my buddy had practiced with me that I was working with at the time. On that Friday, he'd caught a 3-pounder out kind of near the mouth off Grenadier Island. And I pulled up to that. And I had a hummingbird at the time. It was like a 5-inch hummingbird. And it just looked like lasagna on this thing. And I dropped down. And in 20 minutes, I had 24 pounds, I think, or 24.5 or whatever it ended up being. Like it was wild.
So you take that win, and then the following year in 2015, I guess would be your first kind of major win. You win the BFL regional on the Potomac River, which was a $65,000 win. So you do the 3 years of college, your 2 years of the BFLs, and then pop the 65K. The whole time at this, like as you're in your 20s, like, is this what you want to do for a living? Like, has this been your lifelong dream to be a professional bass angler, or is this kind of something where you started and then you're like, holy cow, and now I've got the money, let's give her a shot?
It was always a dream, but like it was far-fetched. Like I didn't know anybody that fished for a living. Like we got like Ike and Ellie up here, but like I didn't know him or any of the other guys up this way. But like I've always followed it super close. I can remember being probably 11, 12 years old playing. I played ice hockey growing up. I think we've talked about that before. But when the Bassmaster Classic was on, like I'm talking to my buddies in the rink that had no idea what fishing is about the Classic going on. So it was always something I've always been super addicted to fishing. Like it's always what I've wanted to do, but I never even saw a glimmer of it being a career until I won that BFL regional. Like when
family wasn't into it. Like you didn't like tournament fish with your family or anything. Like how'd you end up getting into the derby fishing out there then?
That was actually with my best friend from high school and his dad. I played hockey with him. He was our coach. I always tell people I was 13. The first time we went to the Chesapeake Bay, I watched him skip a crawl tube underneath the dock and rip a largemouth out. And I'm like, I want to bass fish. Because up until that point, my grandfather and I just caught everything. We'd go catfishing, striper fishing off the Jersey coast, flounder. Like it didn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
But the crawl tube under the dock was the first time I was like, this is what I want to do. And I joined their club after that and kind of started going from there.
Yeah. So were you planning on jumping up to the pro circuit then after you won that tournament? Because you started fishing the FLW tour then in 2017. You fished the Toyota Series in 16 again, and then jumped in. And for those who don't remember, I mean, but before the split, it was the FLW tour and the Bassmaster Elite Series. You're talking about the Thrifts and the Scott Martins and the David Dudleys and Clark Windlets and Jay Yellises. And I mean, Andy Morgans. I mean, it could go on on that, but that had to be a big jump for you then in 2017. Yeah.
So even to take a step back from that regional, when I won that thing, it was twice the amount of money I was making at my job at the time. So I didn't know what the heck was going on. And I went to my boss like that winter. I worked for a pond and lake management company at the time. And we're talking and I'm like, so I want to go fish I want to do the Northern Opens and the Northern Toyotas or Coastas or whatever they were called at the time. And I'm like, I need like 7 weeks off. And he's like, yeah, I can't do that. So I quit that job and I went, my dad has a landscaping company and I could come and go as I pleased at that. So like I had the flexibility to still be able to make money. I wasn't leaving a job that I liked the job, but it wasn't like it was a career that I was going to be in for the rest of my life. I didn't think. So timing of that worked really well. So I went and fished those two tours because I was like hoping I could either make the Elite Series or qualify for the FLW tour at the time. Which is looking back on it, it's kind of silly to do because I had never fished south of Virginia at this point in my life. And I made it to the FLW tour. And I think the Potomac was the only place I'd ever seen going into year one of fishing like on a national level. And those reservoirs down south they're nothing compared to what we have. Like our lakes around here, if we have a 1,500 acre lake, like that's a big one. Most of them are 8 to 1,000 and either that or it's a natural body of water up in New York or the tidal place. But it ended up working out, but it was probably not the progression. I needed more time probably to really shore up what I was doing. Because you can see it in the tournament results. The first year I cashed a check in the first 2 and I didn't catch a check the last 5 of them. Yeah. And it was definitely tough. But I kind of was learning. I was figuring it out as I went. And I had, like I said before, that addiction to fishing, and that's all I wanted to do, and it's all I wanted to learn, and I put a lot of effort into it.
So when you finished third then in the points in 2020, you'd been on for 4 years. I can't remember what was the BP. That was the weird pandemic year. But what was the qualification? Was there a qualification process for the 21 BPT then? Because I'm looking at that and I was saying third, like I feel like that should have put you on the BPT in 2021.
Yeah, so that was a weird year. It still kind of bothers me a little bit, but they decided instead of they had, I believe it was 4 guys left. It was like Polnick, Hackney, Christie, and I believe that was the year Amart passed away. Okay. So they decided instead of taking 4 guys that were the top 4 to the BBT, they were going to take us 4 for the first tournament and then the FLW tour for the next tournament. Like the first one would go to the second BBT tournament. And they just kept kind of filtering 4 random guys in to their series.
Oh, I remember that. So like every,
yeah,
that was weird.
It was weird, but then they did give us like a little bit of an advantage because they were going to take an average of 2020 and 2021, and I just didn't catch them in 21 to make that step. But it would have pushed me further along in my fishing career, like just jump started that a little bit further ahead. But it is what it is. Like it all ended up working out, but it was just kind of a weird progression of things.
Okay, so then in 2023, you have a good year on which is now the MLF Invitationals, which is now back to the pro circuit, but they called it the Invitationals at the time. Yeah. And you make the Bass Pro Tour in 2024.
Yeah.
Was that, I mean, you from 2010 to 2024. I mean, there's your basically 15-year progression from starting out fishing a college tournament to you're now one of the top 80 guys. That had to be pretty badass.
Yeah, it was cool. Like that was the whole thing. Like after I didn't make it that year, in 20, I guess it would have been after 21 when I had that 2-year average. I had like a fire. Like I wanted to make that thing bad at that point because I'd been so close to it, and I was just like outside. Because I think in 22 I came in 12th, and they were taking 10 guys, I believe, at the time. And they didn't go down the list of guys because there's a couple double qualifiers that were already in the BBT. And I was just like, I was right there, and I just really wanted to qualify. It was personal at that point. So I was glad I made it there. Some things changed then with the rules that I probably honestly wouldn't have fished in 23. I would have gone to the Opens a year earlier. But
Matt Steffen was a victim of that. They changed it all because they were cutting then after that down to the 65 and then the 50 this year. So you ended up getting a 1-year average instead of a 2-year average. One of those things where there's little line bylaws in the rules that say we can do whatever we want is basically what you sign at the beginning of the year. And that involved a one and done because you finished like 60 something that year.
Yeah, no, that and it was even more so. I didn't, well, obviously I wasn't happy about that happening, but it was when it was supposed to be a 5-fish format still. And
right. They did that for a year and then they switched it back.
Yeah. And I would not have signed up for the invitationals that year if I knew it wasn't going to be a 5-fish, because this is how I fish personally. Like I don't catch a lot of fish when I go out there. I go out there, get my 7 to 8 bites, and I'm looking to try to figure out how I can get those biggest bites. And it doesn't even looking back at last year, it doesn't shock me that what happened. It just wasn't my kind of style. I didn't adjust quick enough. It goes from playing one game to a completely different one. Yeah. And so it is what it is. Like I think I hope it ends up working out how I want to after this season's over and be where I want to be, and we'll kind of go from there.
I did want to mention back there in 2020. So along the way, you've kind of dabbled in Bassmaster Opens from 16 on. You won in the Open, the final Open of the 2019 season. You got to fish in a Bassmaster Classic. You got your taste, but it wasn't really until this year, I feel like, that you went all in on the Bassmaster side. The Bassmaster Opens, I assume, worked with your sponsors. You're established. You've got a decade under your belt, very successful with FLW and MLF. And then this year you dove headfirst into the EQs, and it did not start out good for you this year, Grae.
No. Yeah, what was it? I guess that would have been Division 2 was the when we go out there, we only fish one day, and I'm a day 2 angler. You can tell from most of the Opens. And when you only get one day to get a shot at them, that was not good for me. And it was kind of strange. Like I was just like fighting it in the beginning of the year, trying to get those bites, couldn't get it to kind of happen. And then the Tom Bigby River happened. And I found one area that was just loaded, and I had it to myself, and I've been able to kind of just take that, and I've run with it since then. It's weird. Like the momentum thing in fishing where you get confidence and it's like, oh, I know how to know what I'm doing. I'm going to go here. I'm going to catch them. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to catch them. And if it doesn't work, you're, oh, okay, well, we'll just make that next adjustment. And it just, it's fun when it's happening, but it is so painful when it's not. You can't get out of your own way then. It's just, you're fighting and you just, it's not it messes with your head a lot when you're not.
To me, it's really similar, and we'll go back to a hockey analogy here. Like when I was rolling, like I would be like, the goal, like it is a center, it would just be like easy to rack up points. And then I would always hit a lull during the year where then I would start thinking about my positioning, and I would start thinking about making sure I was covering my lane. And I would, during a shift say, make sure I'm driving the net and things like that. And it just seemed impossible to score a goal for a 6, 7, 8 game stretch where you're like, what the heck? Like, I'm a goal scorer. Why is it not? To me, it's the same feeling in fishing. Like when it's flowing, you get out there and it just happens for you. You're in the right spot. You're making the right calls. You're seeing what's happening before it happens. Did you, as a hockey player, do you kind of have that? Do you remember kind of those same feelings when you're on the ice, when you're skating around and you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like I'm having a good game, and you're not thinking about it and you're just getting on the ice and rolling with it. It's kind of the same on the water.
For sure. No, I definitely had that. And I also remember I was always super streaky when I was like a scorer.
Yeah.
I played left wing most of my career, and I can remember my coach telling me the one off season, like, we just got to get you to like kind of just stay in the flow of things, like level it out. And I never did figure that out. And that was why I was played where I did. But it was
same here.
It was just, I was like good enough to figure it out for a little stretches where you just get hot and then it would kind of go cold again for those 5 games or 3 games or whatever it was. But yeah, there's definitely some parallels to it. I like to think I'm a little better at fishing than I was hockey.
Yeah. So 7th at the, Tom Bigby, 42nd at the Chesapeake, 30th at the St. Lawrence. You make the top 50. You go into the EQs. Everything's zeroed. What were your thoughts on the zeroing of the points after that? I've talked to some guys that were in the bottom half that were like, this is an awesome way to level the playing field with the 2 divisions that you're bringing together. They love the EQs, the more entry fees, the bigger payout at the end, the better exposure. And then I've talked to guys at the top who are like, man, I grinded my ass off to be in the top 5 all year, and now I'm at 0 with the guy who finished 49th in the points and hasn't cashed a check all season. Like, was that kind of a mental to kind of restart with the 3 EQs, knowing that you now had to finish in the top 10% of the 100 that were fishing it to basically make the season worthwhile? Yeah,
no. Well, I guess to start off with your question, I don't think it was a fair thing to do. I think they should have rewarded you for the first part of the year, which for me, it wouldn't have helped. I was middle of the pack for Division 1. So, but I believe even if it was, I don't know if it would have been like a 5 points or 10 points or like sort of giving you something. Because to win Angler of the Year in one of those divisions was unbelievably hard. And that was over 4 tournaments, not even over 3.
In Division 2, you had to have 5 good days.
Yeah. Well, that's so. Yeah, so I don't know if they can adjust that in the future, or if they will, or if they're just going to keep to the format they have, and you got to catch them in the last 3, and that's up to you. But it worked out for me. That Champlain one, I was going out there and I was fishing I didn't think I was going to have the tournament I did, but it really, I caught a big bag on day 1. I had 2 giant largemouth that really propped up that week and kind of let me start running from there.
7th at Champlain, 17th at Wheeler, which puts you in 4th place in the EQs. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, I want to dive into kind of your psyche, your mentality. 1 derby left, I guess, for all the marbles. And it's one of those weird ones where there's like a number of different ways you can play this tournament that's coming up. I think there's going to be about 80 boats in this tournament. When kind of go through the points, I want to get into your mind of what our listeners or our viewers can kind of look for heading up to it. So back Monday, it's already November 3rd with how do you want to Bassmaster? You're a professional angler, Bassmaster Classic qualifier, former BPT angler, current Bassmaster EQ angler, Grae Buck. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Before there were hashtags, there were handshakes and shared stories. They gave us confidence to make our first cast and chase our dreams. They taught us to fish, and in the process, taught us about life. They taught us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about lifting others up. The future isn't just about selling tackle. It's about 3 simple words. Let's go fishing. Here's to the original influencers.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country. Spring.
That's a giant, dude.
Summer.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Look at that thing.
Winter.
It's so cold.
And fall.
Got a big one. That's awesome. Being comfortable and staying dry is the only option.
AFCO. Any fish, any water.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
Welcome back, B-Tail, on a Monday, talking with Bassmaster EQ angler Grae Buck as he prepares to head south to, hopefully, sunny Florida. Lake Okeechobee, I believe it's the 5th largest lake in the country. That's completely inside the United States, I think.
Sounds like a good fun fact.
Yeah. Boy, that was a harsh ending to the music. It didn't stop when I thought it was going to. All right, let's get into these points because win's nice. You get what, 65 grand for the win and a spot in the Classic?
I don't know the answer to that. For the winning the tournament itself?
No,
Not
for the
anglers.
EQs. No,
Yeah.
for the EQs. Like if you go down to Okeechobee in the final EQ and you get the dub, you get 65K and a spot in Knoxville, right?
I actually honestly don't know that. I know you get the Elite Series spot. I know there's a payout for it. I don't remember what it was. They showed us up at Champlain, but making the Elite Series out of this is my whole goal.
That's where I was going with that.
head's
You don't
at,
even know what. So you're a lose the battle, win the war type of guy when it comes down to this. So the top 10 make the Bassmaster Elite Series. Matt Messer leads with 175 points. You're in 4th with 170 points. And then 10th is Jack Dice with 149 points. So you're 5 points away from winning the EQs, which I know is a trophy. And I think there's some extra money, like maybe 10, 20 grand that comes with that.
Yeah.
But you're also 20 points out of having to slum it up in the Opens again next year.
Yep.
So you've been doing this a long time. You fish at the top level. You fish in the biggest tournaments that there are. What is your mentality heading into a Florida tournament in the fall?
So I've never fished Florida in the fall. So that's the first thing. I've fished down there quite a bit over the years, but it's all January, February, March. I actually did leave as soon as I got done Wheeler. I was going back and forth if I was going to go look at Okeechobee. I knew the water was going to keep coming up and it was going to change completely, but just for like kind of the due diligence and peace of mind for being home for, I think it's 5 weeks between the last EQ. I was like, I need to go down, just kind of ride around. And I went and spent not quite 2 days there. And I just drove the entire outside rim of that thing. I was looking where grass was, like the cattails are growing, where the round reeds are, trying to see if there's anything submerged. Like it's a completely different fishery than when I was there in 2023. So,
Because of water level.
Yeah, water level and just the spraying they're doing down there. So there's not mats anymore. There's no submerged hydrilla, eelgrass, like any of that sort of stuff, you're not going to be able to fish it like you have in the past. I'm fairly confident about that. But again, I don't fish in the fall in Florida ever. So I've been kind of doing some research, reading about it. I room with Brandon McMillan, so he's kind of explained a little bit about
you room with Brandon McMillan. The guy, he's got to throw you a bone a little bit, maybe. I mean, the guy's a legend down there. The whole family's a legend down there.
I hope I've been nice enough to him this year. But yeah, so it's just kind of getting an idea of how everything's going to play out. I believe the water's at 14 foot right now, or right about there. And last time we were there for MLF Invitational, I think it was like 16 or maybe even a little bit more than that. And the spot I was fishing last time, it's got like 6 inches of water on it. You couldn't even get to them this time if you wanted to, if those fish happened to be there. So it's just going to be kind of going into it. I got to keep an open mind. I know how I like to fish. The last 2 tournaments I've caught vast majority of my fish on a chatterbait. Like, I love throwing a chatterbait, winding that thing. It's just, it fishes my style. Even up on a Champlain, I think I weighed 1 in on the scope, and it wasn't on a minnow. I just caught it on a glide bait, the fish I saw with it. So, and the same thing with Wheeler. I went up there and I caught 19 pounds on that thing day 1, and day 2 got a little tougher without the current coming out of the tail race. But again, I was catching them on a chatterbait, and it's what I got confidence in. If I feel like if I lock that thing in my hand long enough, I'm going to catch some good fish in a day. And Okeechobee, it's known for it. So that's pretty much my game plan going into it. I'm going to cover a ton of water in practice. I want to throw that thing around. If I can find 1 or 2 areas that I feel like I can get into, do like the Florida camping thing, get in there and just really grind it out. And that's when I'll start picking it apart. I'll flip around then too, but I would love to go find an area that I can go wind my chatterbait around all day and give myself a shot at catching 20.
All right, there's a couple chatterbait freaks out there. I'm room with Miles Berghoff, and he literally brings 2 like Rubbermaid tubs without lids because there's so many chatterbaits in each tub that he can't put a lid on. And then his first bite is always chatterbait. So like at Leech, I was like catching him on a minnow and a jig, and he was like, cool. Will those fish bite a chatterbait? I don't know, but he ended up catching almost 20 pounds on the first day on a chatterbait. It was like a 6-ounce chatterbait. It was like whatever, the ounce and a half. But I mean, he's a chatterbait nut. I know you are a chatterbait nut too. I'm curious right now, not historically, not over the course of time, because that's an easy answer. Right now, who are your top 3 chatterbait fishermen going in professional fishing?
I would still say Brett Height is. I fished next to him in that 23 invitational, and I feel like I'm pretty good with the chatterbait. And he whooped up on us. There was something he was doing different with it, and he was definitely crushing them on it. I'm trying to think who else even. I feel like everybody throws it at this point. So like, it's not like some bait that's like, it's not the old Height, Thrift, and whoever you want to name with it. But
I was just curious, are there any sneaky younger guys that maybe we don't know because of the minnow craze and the FFS craze that are still, I mean, obviously I think you might be in that mix, Grae, after what you just described.
Maybe. I know it's definitely something I got so much confidence in. I'm willing to throw it and go down with the ship with it. And I just feel like it gives you that shot at catching a big one, and you can cover water with it. And if you just keep chucking it, you're going to get them. It really is. And I'll have 4 of them on my deck come Okeechobee. I'll have 2 different sizes, 2 different colors. I'm going to use that, and I'll figure out which one they're eating that day, and I'm going to keep running with it. But younger guys, I don't truly know. I'm isolated up here in the north. I don't talk to anybody. I got like 3 people. And,
okay, that's fair. And then one more chatterbait question. You don't know where you're fishing, but it's the fall time of the year. It could be Minnesota where it's almost icy. It could be Okeechobee where it's 80 degrees and sunny. You get to tie on 1 chatterbait. I'm talking about, I want to know like what model, what size, what color, and what trailer. And that's the only bait you can fish with. And you don't know where in the 48 states that you're going with. What is your 1 generic overall give me all the details on what you're starting with.
Oh, that's easy. Green pumpkin, half-ounce jackhammer. I'm going with a hot snakes razor shad because it's got that little bit of like chartreusey yellow color in it. It's got a little bit of a purple flash to it too. So if you can fish it in clean water, dirty water, and it looks like a perch, it looks like a bluegill. You covers from the north to the south. That's what I caught them all on up at Champlain. I think I only caught 3 of them on it at Wheeler. The rest of them were on Clearwater shad because they were on more of a bait fish. But I love throwing that green pumpkin on. It's definitely my confidence bait. And the rod that makes the biggest difference in the world, and I've thrown this thing since it first came out in college. It's a Dobbins 736 CB. It's a glass rod. It's a medium heavy, but it loads up so perfect that when they eat that thing, they let them get it deep enough and you keep them hooked up. It really is my go-to setup. There she is.
That's the hot snakes. It looks a little bit more chartreusey than the ones I've seen.
Yeah, that one that has more. Usually, they have more green pumpkin in it. Usually, it's more just the bottom of it. Every once in a while, they'll have a run of them that's that real bright color. I keep some of those too, just kind of separate in case you fish some real dirty water.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, usually they got a little more green pumpkin, a little bit like a swirl of like a purpley color, and so it's got some purple and blue flake in it. But that is, people ask me all the time if I throw what trailer I use. That I use 99% of the time. I don't switch that thing around for whatever reason. I can skip it. You put one on in a day. It's elastic, so it doesn't ever rip. If it rips, it's because you absolutely murdered them that day. And I love it. It gets me excited.
Have you ever been to a lake, any lake, where you cannot get bit on a half-ounce green pumpkin vibrating jig?
I don't think so.
Has there ever been a time where you're like, dude, I've thrown a half-ounce chatterbait for 3 days and I have caught nothing?
No, there isn't. Because you can throw it around docks, wood, grass. You can throw it anywhere, and you can kind of adjust how deep you're fishing that thing depending on how fast you reel it. Largemouth love it, smallmouth love it. I haven't spent as much time on spotted bass lakes with it, so I'm not familiar.
I think it's an underrated scope bait.
Yeah, it might be.
You're not going to like this, but I'll say it. I know there are guys that are fishing the heavier ones like jigs that are getting it down and then popping it, like almost stroking like a spoon or a hair jig, and getting the fish to react that are used to seeing the bigger minnows or just a jig over it, putting obnoxious trailers on it and doing quite well. Yeah.
Now it's that blade gets that reaction strike out of those fish, no matter how you fish it. But when you rip that thing up and it flutters back down and it keeps kicking on its way down, fish have a hard time not wanting to eat that thing.
We found the one person in America that doesn't like throwing one. Jeff Brazil said Jeff's on every show. He said, I'd rather weed eat in 100-degree heat than throw a chatterbait.
I don't think I can be friends with Jeff.
No, Jeff. And then Jim is saying that you can't keep them pinned, but it's that old school rod. It's not fun to throw it on that rod, but it keeps them from coming off, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if you haven't tried that one, like I work with Dobbins too, but like 1,000%, I can't tell you how many guys I've traveled with that I'll show them that rod, they'll use it, and they go and buy it.
How long would it take you to go grab one of those?
A minute? Do you want me? I'm in my boat. Let me jump up in there. I'll go grab it.
Okay, jump up in there. Jump up in there and grab it. Grae Buck grabbing his. Yeah, you can tell Grae has been playing hockey for a while because I believe that is an all wood CCM above his wall of plastics. He's got everything ready for Florida. So okay, that was way less than a minute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look there. You got the thing on right there.
That one's in green pumpkin with the chart razor shad, but yeah, that's the exact rod there. It's a 736. I got, well, I said 4 of them in the boat. I throw it on a Corrado, 7.4 to 1. So I like to keep it moving pretty fast.
Take the bait off, step back about 3 or 4 steps, and then show us what the tip, like kind of show us how the bend is on that thing.
You see it there? My end frame?
Yep. Yeah.
Like right there. So you can see where it loads up. Right here, you have like the backbone all the way up to that point, which I like because that's what lets you really get those fish, like a good hook set on a bigger fish.
Yeah.
And it also lets you rip that bait through the grass. But that tip there, what happens when you throw it on more of just like a traditional rod, it doesn't load up to the point where it lets that bait get into the fish's mouth deep enough. And there's a lot of head there in the blade. So it pops their mouth open, and that's where you actually end up missing them because of it. So I used to throw it on just a regular 7.3 medium heavy rod back in college. And I would lose a lot of fish. But as soon as they came out with this rod, that was where everything kind of changed. And I won't throw chatterbait on anything else. It's a little bit of a pain if you're skipping docks with it. Just being a glass rod's a little bit slower, but I still do it. I still use it for that just because I'm that confident that if I get that bite, I'm going to put them in the boat because of it.
And then are you, when you hook one, do you do the thing where you change your hand and just straight reel it in no matter what? You want that fish mouth open coming to the boat? I mean, like, I don't fight them on a chatterbait. Like, I literally just keep winding. Like Rick Clun, I've said this a million times. Rick Clun said one time on Zaldane's podcast, to keep the hook, I was going through a time, Grae. Like, I was having one of those times where I would hook a fish in an open and I would go say, dear God, please don't be a big fish. I do not want to have to fight this. Like, I was hooking fish, hoping they were small because I was losing so many big ones and it didn't matter. And literally that was 3 years ago. And he said, keep the hook points on moving baits coming towards the boat at all costs, no matter what. And ever since then, I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect on it, but my hook to land ratio has gone through the roof. Now I've used a little bit heavier line in a lot of instances, even on a spinning rod. Like, I mean, I just keep those suckers coming. Is that how you do it on the, I'll
throw it with 17 or 20 pound Seaguar Tatsu. And unless it's an absolute monster that you have to kind of play next to the boat, I'm going to keep them coming toward me the entire time. And even I probably should have done it when I was up at Champlain, but I swung a 5-pound smallie in on that thing, not realizing it was quite as big as it was. It was the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught on Champlain. And I tuna hauled them all in. And I think the big 513 largemouth was the only fish I grabbed that day. And I had 23 something.
Wow.
But and that's where also that rod, having that medium heavy where it's got enough backbone, you could get those bigger fish up over your gunnel and you don't have to worry about it. The rod, like it being a glass rod, just folding it in half on you and not having your strength to get them into the boat.
I'm looking at this top 10 right now. And there's guys who've caught a lot of fish in this top 10, but as far as kind of longevity, guys who know the sponsor game, have been in this game for a while, fish at the highest level, and you got Russ Lane in 5th, who's holding it down. I don't think there's anyone who's not rooting for Russ Lane to get back on the Elite Series next year. But you definitely have the most experience at that top level outside of Russ. One of the things that isn't talked about a lot is sponsorships going into the upcoming season. You have a pretty robust portfolio, but let's say this swings in your favor and you do chatterbait up a couple 20 racks at Okeechobee. Now you're 60 days from the start of the Bassmaster Elite Series season. And as we sit right now, and for the next 2 weeks, you won't be able to call a sponsor and say, hey, Seaguar, hey, Bass Cat, hey, Z-Man, I'm on the Elite Series. Let's figure something. How has that been? Has that been a weird discussion with your sponsor saying, I might be in the Opens, I might be on the Elite Series, I don't know, just hold your budgeting dollars until December? Like, how has that worked?
Yeah, that is the trickiest thing, and something I wish they would just kind of move it up a little bit, just give us a little more time, because the budgeting, like you said, it gets done usually sometime in October.
It starts at ICAST usually. Usually you go to ICAST and you say, hey, here's kind of where you start the discussions, and it's done. And by September, October, and you're working on your wrap and boat and electronics and everything for the next year. Right now, you're still a week and a half away from the final tournament to figure out where you're going to be fishing.
Sure. No, so I've had those discussions with companies that I'm already working with, and we have some stuff in place if I do, if I don't. So that's good to know. The hardest part's been new companies trying to find something to talk about. I have a couple more conversations coming up before I leave for Okeechobee here in a couple of days, but I don't know exactly how it's going to all play out. The hardest thing with that is, like, you lose a year because you're guaranteed 2 years if you make the Elite Series. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose a year of that, like your marketability. And luckily, with my position, I have a lot of relationships because I've done this for so long. But for the newer guys coming into this, that need that like financial backing specifically, like from some fishing companies to help them fish the Elite Series next year. That's got to be a lot tougher for them. It really does.
Yeah, it's I've talked to a couple guys who are right there on the cusp, and it's they don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Now the good thing with the Elite Series is it doesn't look like it's not going to be the $40,000 financial commitment with that. I think it's $1,000 for each tournament. So if you make it, it's only like a $10,000 deal, or there's no entry fee, or it's not the, hey, congratulations, like it was when you made the EQs. It was, hey, you made the EQs, $10,500 is due on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it's, at least last year it was 10 grand, I believe is what it was for the Elites. I heard it might go up a little bit to make the payouts a little bit better, but I don't know if they ever voted on any of that stuff. I haven't talked to anybody or heard anything that was like hard information on that. But yeah, it'll definitely be a better situation than going into the Opens and EQs again. I've had a decent year minus like the start of it, and
yeah, it's
still like I have to sit down and look at it, but I'm probably about breaking even where I'm at right now for the season.
7, 10, 20. You're 27,000 in earnings.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're breaking even with 8. You're not even breaking even.
No, it's wild how
you're in 4th in the EQs with 2 top 10s.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it is what it is.
Yep.
One of the things I admire about you, Grae, is you've been doing this a long time. It's easy to get sucked into. I'm going to get sucked into it after I let you off the show, because I'm going to go on a rant about something that has just blown my mind. But you always seem like a positive guy who kind of avoids it, and you roll with the punches. You've mentioned it and in a positive way, but like you've gotten the screw job like 3 times over the last 10 years. And instead of letting it eat you up, it seems like you roll with the punches and you're just a positive guy. Is that a fair assessment, or do you sit at home, crush 7 Coors Lights and dog cuss people?
No, I'm pretty easy going. If I can make a living fishing, that's all I've ever wanted to do since I've done this. And like, just to keep it rolling, as long as I'm fishing, I'm happy. And I'll play a little bit of hockey here and there and go catch my bass during the season, and then go fish for whatever else I want to do during the off season. That's actually just kind of jokingly, but my biggest motivation for making the Elite Series next year is I want my fall back to go fun fishing. I haven't been able to do any of my fun fishing this year.
It worked out perfect for me that I just sucked in the 5 days of Opens that I had, because I got married. I'm kicking off Crappie Talk Live here in a week and a half. We're starting a big online tournament, all sorts of stuff. So like I said, I was getting a boat ready, and I was like pulling the crappie rods out, and but I do have to remember to sign up for the Opens today. Today's the last day for that sign up deal. So
I should probably call Hank and see what I'm supposed to do for that. If I don't know what the whole ruling is with being in the EQ still, and do I need to sign up just in case I don't make it so I have somewhere to fish, or how that works?
I don't know. It's very interesting. Anything else I want to get in here? I know, like, when do you leave? You have to leave on Friday, Saturday?
I'm going to leave on Wednesday. I'm going down. I'm going to drive to Deca Batteries, is a sponsor of mine. They are local. They're up about 45 minutes north of where I live, but they have places throughout the country. So in Winston-Salem, I'm going to stop at their one distribution center and kind of do some talking, show the batteries to everybody in the boat. We're going to do like a little fishing contest. So I'm going to get down there. I want to make sure I have plenty of time. I'm going to do a little fun fishing before Okeechobee starts, just to kind of get into the swing of the Florida deal. And so I'm going to get there early and do that. And then afterwards, my wife's going to fly down, and we're going to drive home together, and we're going to stop and do a little probably red fishing and trout fishing on the way back up the coast.
That's what I like about you. You're all about, I feel like you're the type of guy who, even if you're in a tournament and a big gator gar like surfaces like in front of the boat, like even if there's a couple hours left and you need one more, you're going to make a pitch in front of that thing if it's over 50 pounds.
You better believe it.
Oh yeah. I'm the exact same way. I've spent half days of practice targeting hybrid striper, massive alligator gar. Like, I wasted a half day of practice once I realized that all those big balls in the top of trees were like 7-foot alligator gar on Rayburn. And I like had to forceful because they would eat a 7-inch, like wouldn't eat a 4 or 5-inch minnow. You put a big minnow down in front of them on like an 1/8 ounce and start bouncing it. Those gar would smoke it. And I had to forcefully make myself sit down and leave because I had just spent 3 hours fighting alligator gar on spinning tackle in practice, like the day before the tournament was supposed to start. But I love it. Like that's what we do it for.
Yeah, I want something to pull back on me. That's what's fun.
Yeah.
I did the same thing at Norfolk. I was catching those stripers out there right before it gets dark, like that last hour. Yeah. They would go nuts, and I was not looking for bass at that point. I
wasted a half day in the Bass Nation Regional on Champlain. I found a school of jumbo perch, and once I realized that I could put a 1 ounce drop shot weight in 40 foot, and they would eat a chunk of flatworm, I was done. I was like done. I followed that school around. I called it wasn't Hank. I called the tournament director and said, can I box a couple perch to eat? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then I also spent time once I realized that they weren't white bass and they were white perch. Those big schools of white perch that were out. Yeah. I wasted like 3 hours catching a bunch of those things.
Those schools on Champlain of the white perch are insane. They'll go for like a half a mile long. Like it'll just be everywhere when you get around them.
I've wasted multiple hours in practice at Grae catching blue cats once I figured out that they would eat a minnow. Like I know that the next bite is going to be a 10 to 14 pound blue cat, but I still stay there for an hour and a half and just, I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's part of the reason why I suck. But
we got keeps us entertained. We got to keep our head in it too sometimes.
It is. Well, congratulations on a great year and a great career too. You will be one of the few individuals after this Okeechobee event potentially to have pretty much fished at every single level of every single league that you can. I mean, outside of the MPFL, but FLW, MLF, and Bass, all different levels of the ranks, all the way up through the top. Like I said, FLW championships, MLF championships, Bassmaster Classics, Bassmaster Opens, EQs, Toyotas, BFLs, Invitationals, BPTs, the whole 9 yards. So hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, you can add Elite Series Pro to that impressive resume.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and I'll talk to you again here soon.
All right, see you, Grae.
All right, see you, Matt.
The one and only Grae Buck. We are going to take a break, and when I come back, I have a very, very thought out. It's more not a rant. Like I just would like an explanation on some decisions that have been made. And then I also want to talk, I don't know how many times I'll get a chance to do this, so I also want to talk a little SEC football, but it is BTL on a Monday. We'll be back right after this.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook. World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu. World's finest hook.
Hey guys, Brian Schmidt here with Spro. I'm going to talk to you about the confidence I have in the equipment I use. You know, I have a charter boat business back home in Maryland. We fish for saltwater fish, and I also fish the Bassmasters Elite Series. So I keep my lights on by fishing. I have to have a lot of confidence in the equipment I use. Spro has me covered from head to toe, saltwater, freshwater, everything in between. A lot of high-end quality product. Spro has you covered.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
At Beatdown Outdoors, we know you depend on your gear to hold up in any condition. We built for that. We test for that. In fact, we pride ourselves in that. Because we know when the time comes to test your gear, you aren't going to take it easy, so we won't. We build premium, made-in-the-USA products that you can rely on in the moments when your equipment should be the last thing on your mind.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Monday. What are we going to start with here? We'll start with the college football. I love this time of the year because you have things that you put great importance in that actually have absolutely no impact on your longevity, health, or relationships or your actual life, and that is college football. But I love it. Graduated from the University of Oklahoma, go to football games. You know, Brad Hallman didn't come to my wedding because it was the same day as Ole Miss. And he said, hey, not missing Ole Miss. But this past week with OU playing Tennessee, and we haven't really had that with Oklahoma with having them being in the SEC for the last only 2 years. And last year sucked, but we're competitive this year. So it's like every week, whether it's like South Carolina with Gettys Brandon or, the Ole Miss or, particularly at Tennessee. And I didn't realize how many guys in fishing were diehard Tennessee fans. So, I was talking with like Luke Duncan about it. And then Baxter, the bait man I put up a color number 7 spook, and he had a Lucky Craft BDS out of production Lucky Craft if OU had won, which I got a Lucky Craft headed my way. But, I was in a group chat with like Juice's Jigs and Robert G, who, caught a bunch of fish this past year on Juice's Jigs. Juice and I both fished for OU, graduated that. G's at the game. John Garrett's there, Hunter Shryock, Jacob Wheeler, like all sorts of guys. I just love the camaraderie this time of year with the college football, especially down south. It's so much fun. All right, let's get into this rant. So I don't want this to be, it is a rant. I want to explain this, and here's where I want to explain this. I've tried to get an answer for this question from the organization for the past 2 years, past year and a half now. I've tried to get a statement. I've tried to get a logical reasoning to where I could say, I don't agree with that, but thank you for explaining why this decision was made, why this rule was implemented the way that it was. I understand it. I agree with it. I don't agree with it. That doesn't matter. But just a black and white, this is why this was done this way at this time. That's all I'm looking for here. The biggest thing when it comes to tournament bass fishing is competing under a fair and level playing field. If you notice, a lot of the controversy, regardless of what organization you fish with, has to do with rule enforcement, with following the rules, with creating a fair and level playing field. That when Ray Scott started bass, the reason that he was able to gain traction and to gain the best competitive anglers in the country at the time was because he promised a fair and level playing field with fair weights, with no frozen fish being weighed in, with no funny business around it. You go back to big fish tournaments, the field and stream stuff, all that. You can go look at what Ken Duke says in the Bass After Dark about the world records and all that stuff. You just want a fair and level playing field. And one of the topics that has had the most discussion, particularly over the past 5 years, is the no information rule. Whether it's the Bass Pro Tour, where they have worked on a bunch of different rules, from you can't even talk to guys who are fishing the next day that are in the event. You can't talk to fellow competitors, to where you can talk to fellow competitors, to where it's a 30-day off limits, to where it's as soon as the schedule announced, it's off limits. Whether it's the Bassmaster Elite Series back in the day that went from there was really no information rule, then it went to a 30-day before the tournament. Whether it's the Opens that have been, 2 weeks, 30 days, as soon as the schedule. The Toyotas, you can get information sometimes up until the day that practice starts. The no information rules vary widely across which organization you're fishing with and what level of trail in that organization you're fishing. That's fine. I love that. I think that is necessary to maintain the integrity. You can't have a local tournament trail that makes something off limits for a year when 90% of those anglers are going to be fishing it throughout the year. I like it. I have no issue with whatever that rule is. It needs to be fair, and it needs to be equal, and it needs to be consistent. On September 10th, 2025, BASS announced the 2026 St. Croix Bassmaster Open schedule, and then along with the live sonar rule change and the EQ qualification updates. This press release came out, remember, on September 10th. That's an important date. Division 1, Kissimmee, Eufaula, Norman, Lake Erie. Division 2, Rayburn, Grand, Pickwick, Upper Mississippi. Went through the forward facing. There was nothing in this press release at all about no information rules. In last week, the Bassmaster Opens announced their rules. There's a page on there that you can go to, and you can click on 2026 rules. And under those rules, number 3, practice and competition, article number 4. It says, once these rules are published on Bassmaster.com, which I read it because they were published, no competitor may purchase, solicit, or barter for any information on locating or catching fish in Bassmaster Open tournament waters, whether through waypoints, hiring a guide, or any other means during the off-limit period. Practice and competition anglers cannot solicit, gain, attention. The key word here. Once the rules are published on Bassmaster.com, no competitor may purchase, solicit, or barter any information on locating or catching fish in Bassmaster Open tournament waters. So there's a time period here between the press release on September 10th and the middle of October dropping of the rules. So you have a 30-day window, which I have confirmed with Bass. You could get information. You could get waypoints. You could visit the fishery. You could talk with your buddies. You could talk with buddies who weren't fishing it. The rules weren't out yet. There was nothing about that. There was nothing in the press release. But as soon as those rules came out, and there still hasn't been a notification sent to any Opens anglers about this, hey, like, just so you know, it's off limits now because the rules are out. I don't understand why, if they're trying to make the Opens as parallel to the Elite Series as possible, with the forward-facing sonar rules, with the technology rules, with the qualifying rules, and with the information rules. As soon as the Bassmaster Elite Series schedule is announced, those fisheries are off limits for Elite Series anglers to gather any information from, to talk for information. The Bassmaster Opens, they just had a 30-plus day window of complete gray area, wide open season information gathering, and then stopped it hard now that the rules are out. So if you're a guy who's fishing the opens, the day before those rules were posted, you knew where everything was. You could get information on the Kissimmee, Eufaula, Norman, Erie, Rayburn, Grand, Pickwick at the time, which changed to Kentucky Lake, Upper Mississippi. You could have 1,000 waypoints on that. The day those rules come out, you can't. It makes no sense to me why there was not a line in the press release, if they're trying to make it congruent with the Elite Series, as to why those fisheries were not off limits for information prior to the release of the rules. As of the release of the schedule, these fisheries are off limits for those fishing the 2026 Bassmaster Opens. Done. Problem solved. It also does not make sense. I don't want to say that. I also would like an explanation as to the following sentence in the rules here. It says, this rule will not prohibit opens anglers from recreationally fishing and or competing in tournaments individually or with other anglers. However, open anglers cannot solicit, gather, or intentionally receive information to benefit them or gain a competitive advantage for a Bassmaster Open tournament other than the information they gain through their own experience. So what they're saying there is you cannot barter, gather, gain, get any information. But if you fish a tournament 3 months before and you've got you have a co-angler, or you're planning on fishing a tournament with your team buddy, even if he's the best on that lake, you can still fish that. You just can't knowingly gather information for them. They are creating such a massive gray area that has caused problems over the past year, when it would be exceptionally simple to either add the line in that you cannot do it from the release of the schedule, or go to a 30-day off limits, no information. It is the Bassmaster Opens. The majority of us are fishing on bodies of water the way these are described that are like that. You are creating so much gray area and so many problems for yourself. There's 3 solutions to this. One, and this has not been chosen as any of the solutions. One, from the date that the schedule is announced, the fisheries are off limits if you're fishing the Bassmaster Opens for gaining any. Cut and dry, gray area, everybody on the same playing field. 2, there is a 28 to 30 day off limits and no information rule for each fishery. This is what it was last year until Bassmaster decided to change it mid-season, meaning you could get information for these tournaments 28 to 30 days beforehand, and then something happened behind the scenes. They never said it. They just sent an email that said effective immediately, off topic for all of it. So you had fisheries where half of the field and anglers in the field were fishing off of information they had gathered, and the other half were not because they chose to, because they didn't have the opportunity to. So you do a 28 to 30 day. That's what it has been for a number of years. That works flawlessly. That allows you to fish your team tournaments up to 28 to 30 days before the tournament where it's off limits. That puts everybody on the same page. It's not, I saw this guy on this fishery and this guy talking to this guy and all that. That is a cut and dry. Everybody is on the same playing field. That is the way the Opens have been for the past 5 years. Or 3, you say beginning December 1st, beginning January 1st. You will not be able to gather or get any information for these fisheries. That way, everybody is on the same playing field. They know when the hard cutoff date is. I'm talking with guys in the Opens, and I'm saying, hey, no, you can't talk to anybody at Grand right now for the Toyota Series because you're fishing the Opens next year. And they're going, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, the rules came out. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, look at Rule 3, practice and competition, Article 4. It clearly states that you can't gather any information. You can't talk to anybody about it. They have created an immense gray area. I just want a level, equal playing field, or an explanation as to why this 30-day period has been allowed to exist. I cannot find a logical explanation why one of those 3 options that I just explained has not been implemented in the Opens. I've reached out. I've tried to get an explanation. I have tried to talk to people about this, and no one at the organization can give me a reason. I still respect it. I'm still planning on fishing the Bassmaster Opens. I am not in any way trying to say that they're bad. I am trying to take something that only affects 150 to 200 people that no one else is going to say something about, because like if you're listening to this, if you're talking about it, really it doesn't affect you. It affects those guys in the opens who are trying to make that top 50 or trying to go to the EQs, who are investing their life, their savings, their time, their money, and their confidence in an organization that is doing a lot of great things to create a fair and level playing field, but in my opinion, failing miserably in this aspect of the rules and in this aspect of specifically the Bassmaster Opens and the Bassmaster Opens EQs. Just an explanation. If I get an explanation and say, boy, that's a crappy explanation, I'll live with it. I'll move on and I'll go with it. But explain to me why you have allowed this to happen for the second year in a row. That's all I got for today. Cool show tomorrow. We had Chase on with Bass, did a great job. Kind of hit him with some tough questions on Bassmaster, the future of Bassmaster, technology, the fields, where he sees things going, how are things are going. Then also had Boyd Duckett on last week on a recorded show. Talked with him about the technology issues, the cutting of the field, going down to the 50, the changes at the BFL level, the Toyota Series level. And tomorrow, Brad Fuller from the MPFL, the president of the MPFL, and he's been putting out some spicy press releases, folks. I don't know if you've been going over to the MPFL website and reading it, but Brad is definitely putting his opinions very out in the open, making some bold stands with the MPFL. There's a lot of questions about the technology, about sponsors, the future of the organization, the field size, who makes up the field, how you get onto the MPFL. I know the application process just closed, the schedule, the live stream. There's all sorts of stuff. And I told Brad, I said, hey, I can shoot you an outline of kind of some of the stuff we want to go over. I've had Chase on, I've had Boyd on. I kind of want to get you on the same thing, a State of the Union, answer some of the tough questions, kind of give an explanation of the health, longevity of the league. And he said, no, dude, I'm good to go. Shoot me with whatever you got. I look forward to it. I can't wait to be on the show. So very excited. Tomorrow, Brad Fuller, president of the NPFL, on the show. We're back Thursday with another live. Well, Thursday we're not, because I recorded a different show. Frank Scalish, we have a really cool recorded show. Thursday we're back. Wednesday with another show. And then the following week, the 8th, the 9th, or the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, Jody White from MLF in studio. We're going to be fishing. We're going to do evening shows. We're going to do some giveaways for those evening shows. Like I said, I'm married now, so I have people that can actually, I have Court who can actually send things in a timely fashion to those who win it. The BTL Fishing Chaos, as soon as we're done with this show, I'm working on getting that live. I have to do a couple banners. We have to do a couple back end things that will launch. We'll have Tom Brubaker on, who will explain all that again. That'll be live with 100% of those proceeds going to St. Jude. And then also on the 11th, the evening of November 11th, is the first edition of CTL Crappie Talk Live with Zeke. We're filming this week on the water. We're filming next week on the water. We have a pretty dialed in game plan of what we are doing with Crappie Talk Live. It's going to be 8 episodes, 8 recorded episodes, a lot of opportunities to win free products, to learn how to catch giant crappie during the cold water months. There's also going to be a online tournament in accordance with that too. So whether you're ice fishing, whether you're in the South, there's going to be a chance to earn some really cool prizes by catching the biggest crappie. So I think that's all we got for today. Big shout out to Grae Buck. Same time, same place tomorrow. Brad Fuller, NPFL president. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.